Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 61 of Direwolf20's Age of Engineering series. Today, looking at stuff and things. What do we got by way of crates? We've got some crates. We might even have some drawers. That would be cool to go ahead and snag. Gonna pop over to my mining age real quick here because I want to play a little bit with the bees and try and automate them and see what I can do by way of automation and just what kind of luck I can have. So we've got, I didn't bring them with me, but I have a bunch of filters. And I'm pretty sure, unless things have changed with apiaries, that there's sidedness to this thing. So basically we're going to want to extract out the back and insert in the top. And hopefully I will be right about how this all works. We shall see. Now if you look at bees, okay, like for example drones. Alright, here's the trick that you need to know. Notice that they all have the same item ID and the same metadata. But if you hit Control and Shift, you'll see their NBT tags are different, right? So you can see it there, the UID1. The chromosome is the species type, right? So basically, the attributes of all the bees are stored in NBT tags. That's all you gotta know. Which means that if you really want to filter bees and be specific about which bees are going where, you're going to want to specify NBT tag filtering. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, you can match metadata, but I don't think you can specify whether or not to match NBT data, which is kind of a problem, because then we're going to need... So you know what? Here's what we're going to want to do. We're going to want to make sure that we don't crossbreed anybody by mistake, right? So when we extract here, we want to make sure the Ender Princess and drone come out and go right into the same spot, pretty much. So let's do this. And I also want to extract any products that they get and dump them into a chest or something. That's pretty much what we're going to do. So there's really two ways to go about this. We can either use advanced filters and say, hey, you know, Ender Drone, Ender Princess goes into the right slot, etc., etc. Or we can kind of treat each apiary as kind of its own little thing. Or we can use different colors, but with the different colors, like, we'd still have to extract the resources that they're producing. And wow, you guys did a terrible job of producing any actual chrome. Like, this guy produced a few combs, and that was it. Bad bees. You fail. So what's a good way to automate these guys? This is actually like a little tricky-ish of a problem to do it nice and efficiency. Like, we could do that, right? And now these bees would all talk to each other and do their thing properly. Let's do it with this one. Right, so we do that and prevent you guys from talking, kind of thing. Right? So you would like extract on green, and you would be inserting, and hopefully you guys are smart enough to only extract and insert the right things into the right slots. So if I always actived you, they did, right? So that's cool. The problem is the mysterious combs will now build up. Ow, 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 ow. Stop. Inside the apiary, right? And that's kind of something we don't want to have, but it'll at least get them working. So you guys will do the same thing. Nice. That works. I'm going to take you out for a minute so I can do the rest. Right, so that's kind of what I'm thinking we'll want to do. So we can kind of set this up so that they're all kind of their own little self-contained systems, right? So you'll be insert, and you'll be extract always active, and you're going to behave, right? And same for you. Insert, extract always active. Cool? So like that would probably kind of work. Ow. Ow. So at least that way the bees will continue to do their thing. Now we're not actually collecting or putting the the stuff anywhere that we get for bees. But I'll let that run for a bit, and what we can do is we can wind up throwing like some item conduits on the front of the beehives, and that would probably work. So this is just like getting that automated, right? So I can kind of forget about it for a little bit and come back later and have a bunch of it. Something else I kicked off is wow, we are not getting as much plutonium as I had hoped. Well, cyanite, I guess. I dropped, obviously, a bunch of yellorium into this thing, right? With the hopes that we would get a decent amount of cyanite dust, and we're not getting quite as much as we would have hoped. Dark steel ball is in there to help speed that along. So cyanite, we've gotten 3 ingots. We've got about 90 dust, so that's not terrible. Remember, it's 2 cyanite to make 1 plutonium, and then we're going to need 4 plutonium per ludicrate block, along with nether stars, by the way. And the ludicrite block is going to be required for wyvern cores. So basically we need 8 plutonium per wyvern core, and wyvern cores are used a decent amount in draconic stuff later on. Like a real decent amount. There's like quite a few things that wyvern cores are used for, including like the fancy armor and stuff. So yeah, we're going to want to heavily consider. See, look at all the things wyvern cores are used for, and there's like multiple wyvern cores in need sometimes. If we want to make those awesome weapons and armor and stuff. So we're definitely going to want lots of plutonium. So I'm thinking at this point, it would behoove me to begin thinking about making a big reactor. And I've been kind of playing with the reactor simulator to try and figure out like what kind of reactor I want to go with. And I also have to factor in the costs of these things. Because reactors, big reactors at least, cost a lot. So the casings themselves, like if we look at extreme reactors, right? The casings themselves are brutal. Reactor casings require 4 graphite bars and 4 dark steel bars per 4 reactor casings, right? So if I want to make a smallish reactor, like a internal 5x5, which would be a 7x7x7 external size, we need 212 of these casings. So we need a large amount of dark steel. Graphite, I'm assuming, is just smelted coal, like it has been in the past. So that's good. He didn't tweak that too badly. But then we also need reactor casings, which need dark iron bars. So that's at least not too bad, because like you get 1 of these, become 4 of these. So it's not terrible. You need 1 dark steel bar, basically. But you also need electrical steel and yellorium. So yeah, it's a little bit crazier than it looks. But that's like the cheapest part. We need 1 controller. That's not terrible. We can totally do that. We're going to need 5 control rods, graphite electrodes, steel tough rods. So we're going to have to make, you know, a few more of these. But we've been making those, so we know that that's not a huge deal. And then now for, like, you know, the really painful part, yellorium fuel rods. Boom. These guys need fused quartz and a pellet of RTG fuel each. If I want a simple 5x5x5 reactor with 5 control rods in it, we're going to need 25 yellorium fuel rods, which means we will need 75 large pieces of plutonium, which is a lot. Now, if I looked at my plutonium reserves, because I've been, you know, running reactors for a while, I might be close, actually, to having just enough plutonium to pull this off. It would probably completely wreck my plutonium reserves, but this reactor, when running, so I've got 2 options. I can put liquid ender in it, or I cannot put liquid ender in it. If I remove all the liquid ender from my simulator and run it, I wind up using 0.32 ingots of yellorium per minute, which means every 3 minutes we will be generating a piece of cyanite. If we want to make that more, we have to put in more fuel rods. Like, if I bump it up to like 9 fuel rods instead of 5, I can get 0.5 ingots per minute. So basically every 2 minutes we'll get a fuel rod. But that's not great, because it means, like, you know, significantly more plutonium, which I don't have. I could do some UU mattering into plutonium, but I don't know about that. And that's without liquid ender in it. And that'll get me about 4,500 RF a tick. Now, if I fill the thing with liquid ender, in all the air spots, I wind up going up to about 12,000 RF a tick. So makes the RF generation a lot better, but it bumps me down to 0.2 ingots per minute, which means it'll take 5 minutes to make a cyanide ingot. So we can get better RF generation, which we're not hurting for. So I don't know. Like, I'm I'm struggling to decide whether I want to, like, at least make this reactor useful for me where it's actually producing power versus not. Because if I bump up my power gen, I can bump up more stuff, right? Like, right now we're doing fine on power. We're not hurting. But we are getting to the point where, like, if certain things kick on in the right order, I start having a net loss of power, and then it winds up starting to, you know, pick back up after some other things are done running. But I could boost this up to a tier 4 and start getting even more stuff coming in. I could build a quantum quarry. I could start building, like, some quarries in some other planets so that I can, you know, automate some resources there. So there's a lot of benefits to having, you know, a big reactor that's actually producing a decent amount of power. For the yellorium I'm dumping in. But at the same time, a big part of this is actually making cyanite. So I have to decide what I want to do. All right, I think I've decided on a design that I like. Technically, it's probably not, it's the best middle ground road, I think, for me personally. It may not be the best one for everybody, right? So I'm going to do a 5x7 reactor. So the internal space will be 5x5. The height will be 7, which means it'll be a 7x7x9 external size, 9 being the height. This will generate 16,000 RF a tick, and it will use about 0.28 ingots per minute. So somewhere between around 3.5 minutes per plutonium ingot, which should, or cyanide ingot. So that should be pretty cool. But the 16,000 RF a tick will be a nice generation. This will cost me a total of 35 yellorium fuel rods. So what I'm going to do is make a quick pellet of RTG fuel, which, yay, I know how to make. That's cool. And I think I want to scan this dude. Like, I think that that's kind of a smart move. Like, it'll be a little bit of cost, but whatever. It's fine. We're going to use a little bit of UU matter to scan this, and we will be able to make pellets of RTG fuel going forward. Technically, I could have just done this, you know, by way of... do I really want to scan this, or do I want to scan the big pellet of plutonium? I might want to just scan a big pellet of plutonium, because the RTG fuel is going to wind up factoring in the cost of all the iron, and iron I could really care less about. I've got so much of it. Yeah, that I don't think I want to actually worry about that. So let's actually get a piece of plutonium here that we will scan instead of the pellet of RTG fuel. And hopefully you guys, I taught this thing how to make plutonium out of tiny plutonium, but if not, I can just do it manually. It doesn't matter. It's such a small part of the crafting process. So in total, we're going to need 268 casings, a fuel rod. Let's just make sure that there's nothing else that he did that's like going to make extreme reactors difficult on me. So we'll want RedNet port, computer port, redstone port. We might want one of these eventually. That's the standard recipe, so that's fine. This would be for turning the reactor on and off. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just have the reactor running all the time, whether I need the power or not, because we've got such a stupid amount of yellorium that I don't care about being efficient with my yellorium. And at the same time, like, whatever, right? Like, we're cool. And then the other thing we're going to need is reactor access ports. You need an ESD and a hopper. I can't imagine that these are hard to get, so that doesn't look too terrible. That'll allow me to get the yellorium in and out and the cyanide stuff. And then we're going to want the power port. Isn't there one of those? Like, where am I not seeing? Reactor RedNet, controller redstone. I'm not seeing... Redstone flux power tap. Okay, so I need an HV capacitor, a vibrant capacitor, an MFSU, and a power cell. Lots of effort, but not the end of the world. I should be able to craft all that. I will kick that all off camera. Real quick, let's real fast. I did make some dark steel, so I want you to know how that is made. And then real quick with extreme reactors, I'm going to kick this off on camera, and then we'll let it run off. So we're going to need to know that coal smelted in a regular smeltery yields graphite. Okay, so coal smelted in a regular smeltery yields graphite. And then, yeah. Extreme reactors. So you're going to need to know how to make the reactor casing, which is this and that. Cool. Electrical steel and yellorium ingot. Can you just make one of these real quick for me? Actually, make a bunch. I just want to get all these recipes taught. So you're going to need to know how to make one of these, please. Nice. And do you have the resources for those yet? Maybe? Yes. Cool. And then you are used to make one of these, which we can now teach the pattern to. Nice. Okay. So let's kick this off. So you go here, and you go here, and into the place where I have glass and everything, like vanilla smelting. I call it vanilla smelting. It's what smelts in a vanilla furnace. The graphite goes. Cool. So now if I wanted reactor casings, and I wanted like... So we need a little bit more obsidian, and then we should be good. All this is going to do is take a really long time. So let's turn our obsidian gen on. Can I start off with 100? That should be fine. All this is going to do is take a really long time, like probably a really, really long time, to smelt up all the dark steel that we're going to need and all the electrical, or yeah, that stuff. So I guess while that's going, let's real quick check our plutonium thing. 213 millibuckets. So real quick, just want to make sure, right? So we'll save this guy, because I burned the plutonium anyway. Plutonium is 213, and that's 23, right? So 23.68 times 9, 213.12. Yeah, so that's just going to save me a few clicks, ultimately. Yeah. I was hoping there would be like a little bit of a cost savings, but it's like exactly to the decimal point, no benefit. Awesome. All right, so back in a minute once I've got more stuff completed here. So one thing I want to do real quick also, just because I'm kind of planning for draconium times, we already boosted our amount of Eulorium coming in. We have a silly amount now, so let's boost our draconium input. Nice. So purple is the draconium amount. If we check the uses of the purple lens, it'll improve our lead and draconium amount, and it'll bump draconium from a 0.9% chance to a 5.75% chance. So quite the boost, like more than 5 times the draconium income, which is pretty cool. We've already got almost 1,000 draconium more, which should come out to about 2,000. Well, it'll be like 1,400 plus the 200. So well, around like 1,700 as it is draconium dust, which is neat. Let's turn you off for a minute to let that cool down, and let's get our reactor. 100 and let's say 50 more of these dudes. Start that off. So yeah, we have a lot of alloy smelting to do, like a real lot. It's just going to take forever and a day to do this, probably. So that'll all be done kind of in the background while I work on the next bits. So let's get our controller, and let's start mapping out what this is going to look like. So I'm thinking... So this is mostly my power room down here, so I could either put it over here or over here. I'm thinking over here is where I'd like to do it. So let's get our drill upgrades. Let's take this suit off and put this suit back on. And you guys are good to go. Nice. And let's get some more bricks, because we're going to probably want these. And a wand. There we go. Nice. Just to have some room. All right, so remember, this thing's going to be a total, and I want to make sure I don't like run into anything here, of 5 by 5 by 7 internal, which means it's going to be a 7 by 7. There we go. Oh, nice. I'm bumped right into this thing. Cool. That works for me. That's okay. Reactor, ultimately, right? By 9 tall. So this would be, let's get some glowstone in here real quick just to light the area up a little bit. Probably take these out for a sec. That'll look kind of nice, right? So this is your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So this can kind of be recessed into the wall a little bit. So that's your 7 by 7. That's what the reactor's going to look like. And then it's going to be... So like, let's have it into the floor one. So let's get you guys back in here. That stuff can go back. That's cool. Let's do this in 3 by 3. So that'll be like the bottom of the reactor, right? So just imagine these would all be reactor blocks once they're done being built. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we need like 3 more tall, right? Because it needs to be 9 total tall. 1, 2. Don't break into anything that I actually care about. 2, 3. Cool? So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tall. And then this would be your roof, right? Actually, yeah, that does work as the roof. Let's get some smooth stone back here. Yeah, cool. You guys get the gist, right? I really need a jetpack. I don't know why I haven't gotten one yet. So then this guy can go here, here. Nice. I don't even know what this is doing. Looks like it's like just chilling there. What is this? Ethanol? Okay. Well, that's fine, because I don't think it'll actually impact, right? So this will be the roof of the reactor. Can I do that? Yeah, nice. Okay, so that should be good. So this reactor should actually fit pretty well right here where it is, right? So just confirming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, yeah, that does have to be 1 taller. That's okay, it fits. Totally fits. So that's your 9, right? Okay, that'll do. That'll work. So that's where our reactor is going to be. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that should work. Cool. So that'll be pretty much the area of our reactor where it's going to sit. So what we'll see is basically a big reactor chilling there. We'll be able to look inside of it. We'll probably have the redstone power output here that'll just run into this guy. And that'll be good. Cool. So let's put away all this junk we don't need again. For the time being, at least. And the next stage will be getting the control rods. So control rods, we're going to need 5 of these dudes. So we're going to need 10 graphite electrodes, right? 10 graphite electrodes will require 40 hop graphite ingots, which will require 40 hop graphite dust, which will require 320 coke dust. You did not make this easy. Get to work. So while that's processing, that should all be happening over there. Love automation. The next thing we need to work on is uranium fuel rods. So for that, let's math out what we need here. So we need 35 fuel rods, which means we're going to need 35 pellets of RTG fuel, but we're also going to need a bunch of fused quartz. So 8 times 35, right? So 35 times 8. And fused quartz comes from 4 nether quartz. So times 4 on that. And we'll need 1,120 nether quartz. Hopefully we have that. Yeah, we're pretty good on quartz there. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. Let's divide by 64 on that. 17.5 stacks. That should be all the nether quartz we need. So we've got an alloy smelter over here, right? Let's just get a small storage crate on top of him. We will set you to push-pull. And make sure that you're in that mode. Cool? So that should start making my fused nether quartz. I'm doing it this way because my other thing is a little bit busy making all my dark steel and whatnot. so we can check out this guy's progress. He's got a long way to go. A really long way to go. In the meantime, we'll also need pellets of RTG fuel. So that'll be fun. So again, we need 35 Eulorium fuel rods times 3 plutonium is 105. Plutonium is pretty much what I will need for the 35 pellets of RTG fuel that we're going to need. So let's get our plutonium. So I've got 65. Wow, that's like pretty much exactly half, isn't it? Right? So let's just remath that real quick. So I need 35 Eulorium fuel rods times 3 plutonium is 105 minus 65. All right, okay. So I need 40 more. All right, that makes more sense. So 40 more plutonium. So let's go down here and math out how much UU matter that's going to be. So for 40 plutonium at 213.1 millibuckets, it's 8,524 UU matter. So I can do that. So let's plutonium this thing. Wow, that takes a minute. Yeah, I guess it, when it's 213 millibuckets versus like, you know, the couple dozen that the other stuff is, it takes a while. We're also cutting out power pretty badly because of our overclockers. Can I boost you? So you're tapped into the HV transformer. What is a replicator? It is a tier 4 machine, so I should be able to, in theory. What about the scanner? Is he a tier 4? He is. So technically he should be able to accept extreme current. So he shouldn't have a problem. Because this is an HV transformer. I should be able to move this. Goodness, I don't want this to like completely die on me, but let's see if I can make this actually work a little better. Where's my IC2 wrench? So in theory, this should work. Yeah, I'm holding plutonium. I can't take off my armor. So in theory, you guys, replicator and scanner, can both accept tier 4 current. And right now you're being given tier 3, which means you're cutting out... Oh, we have to fix that. I hate that this breaks all the time. Better? Thank you. And I always notice it like when I need power, of course. So let's wrench this. So in theory, this should not blow up. You're still hurting for your UU come in, or your EU to come in, but oh well. At least nothing blew up. And then we can put you here and wrenched that way. And you will be fixed step down. Cool. Alright, back in a minute once all the things that I've kicked off are done. Also, luckily, one of my fuel rods is depleted. So I had 21. These guys are all running in tandem now, so they pretty much have the same durability. 15,293, 15,291, and 15,284. So yeah, they're all within sync with each other. So basically every time those reactors are done, I get about 10 pieces of plutonium. So that saved me having to make, instead of 40, now I only have to make 30. How cool is that? Nice. It's not automated. The only part of it that's not automated, by the way. So that's, yeah, 9 more pieces of plutonium that I don't have to make. Awesome. Let's give you a break for a minute. Single run. I'll let your thing fill back up here. The only part that's not automated is I'm not auto-outputting the depleted fuel rods into the centrifuge, but it's no big deal. We're getting there, guys. 8 more pieces of plutonium. 7 more pieces of plutonium out of here. I'm actually out of power in here-ish. So the fact that this is running is by virtue of the fact that I ran some cabling over from my nuclear reactors and I turned off my UU matter production for a sec. Like, I'm helping to create the power that we need to produce all this plutonium with my reactors. How's this thing doing? Coming along. He's got some more work to do, and this one has a lot more work to do. Wow, scheduled is the dark iron bars. Wow, we have a lot. Dark iron takes a long time to smelt as it is. Like, each dark iron processing takes like a pretty long time, even with an octadic capacitor. So it's going to be minutes. It's going to be a long time. It's going to be a lot of minutes before that's done. What I'm thinking I'm going to do is we are pretty close to having all the RTG fuel we need here, right? Let's kick off the iron we're going to need. So you already know how to make RTG fuel. We've got one. Let's request... Do I have enough for 30 more? I do. Perfect. No crafting CPUs are available. Give it a sec. There should be crafting CPUs available. Oh, because it's 5,000 bytes, that's why. It's that's a big demand craft. There should be... I've got 3, right? Oh, there's none that can do... Okay, cool. So let's start off with, like, 20. Does that sound good? Yeah, that we have enough CPUs for. Yeah, I don't have any that are above 4K. So if I want to be able to craft that many, it needs to be a lot more. So that'll kick off a bunch of iron being converted into RTG fuel. So what I'm going to do is, between episodes here, I'm going to continue, and I said we needed about 7 more of this plutonium, so I'll let 7 more cook up here, and then that should be the proper amount of plutonium for all the Yellorium fuel rods. I'm going to finish crafting all the components that are necessary to build the reactor, and then we'll come back next episode and actually put it together and start the production of cyanite / more power. And then once we have more power going, we can ramp up some power usage stuff that I've got going around the base. And I'd really like to get into Draconic pretty soon into that, because we're starting to get to the point where we have silly amounts of power being generated. But we're also having parts of, like, silly amounts of power being required, right? But remember, Ender IO conduits can only transfer up to 20,000 RF a tick. So once we start getting beyond those needs, we might need to really start considering more and more stuff. But for now, Darrell20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We will come back next time to continue to expand our big reactor, get it ready to turn online, and then we will have more power gen, hopefully get one step closer to Draconic. The next thing we're going to need to do to get into Draconic Evolution is to automate, in a better way, this thing. We are slowly but surely getting singularities, but we're going to need a lot of singularities in order to get into Draconic Evolution. As we saw last episode, we need pretty much, for every Draconic core, which you need a lot of these in Draconic Evolution, you're going to need 1 quantum entangled singularity. You get 2 of them per these. So right now we have enough singularities to make 14, and this has been running for a long time. So we definitely have to ramp this up, and we have to automate converting these into... the paired singularities with TNT. So we want to automate that. So that's something we'll look into probably next episode. For now, take it easy.